Hey, true believers, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and we come to my third and final part review of the third and final season of Marvel Television's What If? Yes. Well, yeah, so we come to the last two episodes of the third and final season of What If, and, yeah, because up to this point, the Watcher himself, our guide, narrator, and so on, he's been watching over and observing all of the multiple universes, the multiverses, basically, and by this point, he's actually interfered and broke the rules, and by this point, three other Watchers, they are not satisfied, and yeah, are about to punish him and so on. Yeah, because of what happened in the third to last episode, yeah, because when they confronted him, and then it led to three shards making their way and going through the dimensions and so on, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, with the last two episodes of Season 3 of What If, episodes, well, 7 and 8, yeah. Well, they did not disappoint. I thought they were really good. The last two episodes, what they have in store, what's left to offer in these last two episodes. The epic battle would start to happen, a couple of big-time characters in What If coming together, and even a few new additions, you know, that would join alongside with, most prominently, Captain Carter herself. Yeah. And, you know, it's very fitting that, you know, Captain Carter, whom was the first character to be the center of the first storyline when What If started, that's very fitting and appropriate. Yeah. And boy, what she does in the 8th and final episode, oh, until we get there, but I'm sure you know by now. But yeah, just the fact that a couple of these characters from different universes and who come together and they would become aware that the Watcher is in trouble, and not to mention that Captain Carter is in links with the Watcher, and the Watcher handpicked her for various reasons, you know, as we all know. And again, just them coming together, helping the Watcher, confronting the three Watchers, and, you know, hopefully some good can come along the way, and finding something fresh and new, and, you know, to take down those Watchers. Maybe they can change, and all that changes should probably come to the 5th dimension where the Watchers reside at. Yeah. Just everything about the last two episodes, again, did not disappoint, and it was a great way to close What If and go out with a pretty good bang, I guess you could say, you know, for this being the third and final season. But, okay. Yeah, just again, overall, the last two episodes of Season 3 of What If, they were really good. Okay, now, with the first things I've had to say about the last two episodes of Marvel's What If now out of the way, now, as always, well, we dive in / break down the episodes themselves, and, of course, by reading the description / the stories. So, of course, starting with episode 7, the second to last episode, which being titled, What If the Watcher Disappeared? Okay, description / the story. A skilled leader forms an elite squad, if I said that right, yeah, to combat interdimensional threats. When her ally vanishes, they embark on a quest to locate him, seeking a powerful entity capable of transporting them to his otherworldly prison. Alright, now, diving in / breaking down the second to last episode, episode 7. Okay, well, yeah, because like where we last left off, the Watcher getting caught by the three other Watchers, which they are the Eminence, the Executioner, and the Incarnate, if I said that right. Maybe not, but again, you know me sometimes. And by the way, the three Watchers, the Eminence being voiced by, as I mentioned last time, Jason Isaacs, the Executioner, Darren DePaul, and the Incarnate, Carnant. Yeah, I think that's right. DC Douglas. Yeah. So, yeah, the Watcher's standing trial, and while that's going on, well, we come to Earth 625, which we had seen in Season 2, where, in this universe, Nebula becomes the leader of Nova Prime and all that, you know? If you've seen that episode, which, yeah, that was pretty good. And basically, an interdimensional universe eater has emerged, and just in the nick of time, Captain Carter steps in. And of course, Captain Carter, once again being voiced by the beautiful, talented Hayley Atwell. And Nebula, Groot, and Korg, they do appear. And we get a few voice lines from Karen Gillan and Taika Waititi, as you-know-who, of course, yeah. And Groot, yeah, Groot gets a few, like, 1 or 2 lines, and Fred Tatasciore voicing Groot. You know, yeah, and Fred Tatasciore doing a great, has done a great job voicing Groot, and filling in for Vin Diesel when, of course, he's not available. So, yeah. Good on you, Fred. We love you. Anyways, so again, Captain Carter shows up, but she's not alone. Others have come along with her. Kahori has returned, and Kahori once again being voiced by Devry Jacobs, and Kahori, whom we last saw in Season 2, which that was a pretty good episode, her debut in something Marvel and such. Yep, we have Kahori. A grown-up Birdie has stepped in the picture. Now she has the full capability of her powers, and she flies and all that. And yeah, Birdie, whom is the child of Howard the Duck and Darcy, and grown-up Birdie being voiced by Natasha Lyonne. Yes, another good talent in this. And whom, of course, had already done something else in the MCU, which, of course, being the Fantastic Four film. Yeah. So, Birdie stepping in, and a new addition to What If, and that being a mutant. Yes. Storm has entered the picture, and Storm, whom wields Thor's hammer, and is the goddess of thunder and lightning, yes. And clearly, because, yeah, that comes somewhere from the comics, where Storm is the storm wielder and all that, just like Thor. Yeah, god of thunder and so on, but she's a goddess, obviously. And Storm, this variant of Storm being voiced by Alison Seeley Smith. Yeah, and she did very well. I mean, as if we were expecting, say, Halle Berry to... And no hard feelings on her. Maybe if they considered her and if she were available, I'm sure she would have done it. But, no, I mean, Alison Seeley Smith did very excellent voicing Storm. And with what this variant of Storm is like, that's very important. So they come in, they help out Nebula and the others take on and defeat the interdimensional universe eater. And it doesn't take them too long to take down this universe eater, especially when Captain Carter, with the help of Storm, and with holding the shield, and with the thunder, lightning from Storm, sending her flying, going through the monster's eyes, and that's what kills the monster instantly. And it's just another day in the office for Captain Carter, having taken on a monster and all that, an alien creature. But then... the 3 shards, they would make their way down on Earth 625. By the way, because, that Earth sharing the same numbers as Ruben from Lilo and Stitch. Yeah, because, Anyways, I just thought I'd mention it because it's true. So the 3 shards come down, and it doesn't take too long for Captain Carter and the others to realize that, yeah, the Watcher, they all know who the Watcher is. The Watcher... at this point is in trouble, and they've got to do something about it. And on account that, with the 3 shards, they'll come in handy, and they'll do whatever they can to use the 3 shards, and in order to reach and save the Watcher. Okay, so to speed things up some, because, when using the first and the second of the shards, the first and second of them, it doesn't work at first. Birdie, she tries to... do some equipment and so on to a pod ship. It's supposed to be like Kang's ship, because Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen what Kang's ship looks like and something like that. But anyways, point being is that, yeah, using a crash test dummy and hooking it all up to a ship and on account of the shard, but in the end it doesn't work out. Then Storm tries to use her powers with thunder and lightning to get it to work and on account of the second shard, but sadly that didn't work either. So now they're down to the third to last shard. But that's when it is mentioned by Kahori that maybe they should consider, and it's quite a big risk, and by this point, they're really out of options. But this one could possibly work if all goes well. They should consider, and again, Kahori brings this up, that maybe they should consider approaching Infinity Ultron. Yeah, because knowing Infinity Ultron, and because we have seen Infinity Ultron in the past of What If, yeah, we know what he's capable of with the Infinity Stones and all that, and with the multiverses, etc. Yeah, of course, and I know. So, and yeah, I mean, it's quite a risk, but again, they're really out of options, and thus they go for it. Not to mention, because it is mentioned that they even had stolen some equipment from TVA. Yeah, so with that, and trying to reach to Infinity Ultron, and if he doesn't cooperate, they'll reprogram him, all of that, in order to proceed with their destination to save the Watcher. And after that, then there's a heart-to-heart conversation between Peggy and Storm, and, I mean, Peggy, she's not wanting to lose any of her friends. And even, like, say, she at one point looked at a photo of her past friends, and T'Challa being in that photo, too. Nice. And, well, even though, because they all have come to the agreement to go after and find / locate Infinity Ultron, well, Peggy actually does this quite early. She does this behind their backs, not really intentionally, but she felt that maybe she ought to do this alone, which she does so. And we get a montage when we come to Infinity Ultron. We can see, because, yeah, all of the universes that he destroyed, everybody attempting to try to take down / defeat Infinity Ultron, even Captain Marvel herself, Carol Danvers. Not even she could take down Infinity Ultron. Jeez. But yeah, many eons later, Infinity Ultron has been alone in the universe. Nothing left in the universe he's in. A complete space dust and all that. Dead silent. But that would change when, yeah, he is unexpectedly greeted by Captain Carter herself. And Captain Carter saying to Infinity Ultron that, we need your help. And then we cut back to Birdie, Storm, and Kahori. Not to mention, there's one quick scene where Birdie is on video chat with her parents. Howard and Darcy, of course. And, of course, Seth Green and Kat Dennings, for once more in What If, lending their voices to their characters. Yeah. And, getting a little glimpse of their older versions. And both of them are wearing glasses. Yep, gotta do that. But yeah. Yeah, and by the way, because to say more about, say, older Birdie, and to talk more about Storm, because, yeah, I mean, again, in the case of Alison Seeley Smith, she does excellent voicing Storm, and with what this variant of Storm is like, to finally see this version of Storm, where she's the goddess, wielding the same powers as Thor, with a thunder and lightning, and, Natasha Lyonne, great actress herself, and to be a part of the Marvel universe. Yeah, doing this first, and then a little later doing one of the movies, again, which of course being Fantastic Four. Yeah, that. Well, yeah, because older Birdie and what she's like, and with Natasha's voice performance, oh yeah, just really, really great. Definitely, there's no doubt. And yeah, just knowing that Birdie and the powers she's able to do, and now that she's older, and because we got our first taste of it in the episode where, they gave birth to Birdie, and when she hatched from the egg, and even as a baby, even when she was still in the egg, she was very powerful. And did I say, when I reviewed that episode, in my part 2 review, a boy? Yeah, I apologize, but, Anyways, so yeah, but by this point, they discover that, something from inside their ship has gone missing, and that's when they realize that Carter went off her own to go and find Infinity Ultron, and thus they make their destination to where Carter went and where Infinity Ultron is. When they make their destination, they can see. One of the first things they notice, besides everything being just, space dust, nothing left, they notice that Carter's shield has been broken in half, and, well, that can only mean one thing. Infinity Ultron? Did he do this? Well, we're about to find out, because Infinity Ultron, when he emerges, he shows up and tells them that, yeah, she's gone. Well, they just unleash their powers trying to, beat Infinity Ultron's ass, basically. Pardon my French, but it's true. And Infinity Ultron, he's struggling to get a sentence out up until when he uses the Time Stone to freeze them, and telling them that by using the stones, he can wipe them out just like that, but he's not going to. He spares them for a very good reason. What happened was, and when he finally explains to them, yeah, because Carter, she arrived asking for his help, but that would be interrupted when one of the Watchers step in, and that being the main one, the front and center one, the Eminence, that Jason Isaacs voice. He stepped in and confronted and basically captured Captain Carter. So basically she's still alive. So yeah, and of course Infinity Ultron is explaining the truth. And by the way, Infinity Ultron, once again being voiced by Ross Marquand, whom has voiced Infinity Ultron before in the past seasons. And I know I've probably mentioned this before, but yeah, just why not? He had also been in one of the Marvel films, actually two of them, the last two Avengers films, playing Red Skull. Yeah, stepping in for Hugo Weaving, and because Ross, he did a very great job filling in for Hugo Weaving. It's like you couldn't really tell the difference, because Red Skull, right there, in the last two Avengers films, was Red Skull. So, yeah, he did an excellent job. And, granted, because, you could say, probably, by this point, maybe Red Skull got a little bit older, but, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But, anyways, but back on point, because, yeah, again, Infinity Ultron, after having explained to Storm, Birdie, and Kahori about what all has happened, and on account of Captain Carter, and that, well, he then realized, and after being so alone for eons, that what he was hoping for, the peace that he wanted, and because it had to do with him destroying everything in the universe where he's at, it didn't get him that. Because he realized that peace, what there has to be on account of peace is life. Life out in the universe. Yeah, so that was his big mistake. And he is willing, and he wants to. He wants to redeem himself and do all of that. And yeah, he accepts on helping them out, and he took the third and final shard, but he breaks it for good reason. It then consumes him and all that, and he sees everything. And because of this, oh yeah, he is definitely now very powerful, at least, to help out for what they're going to do to save Carter and, of course, the Watchers. Yeah, so Infinity Ultron tags along with them, and thus they proceed on their destination, which, by this point, this is where the seventh episode / second to last episode, of What If ends off, and to be continued, because this is a two-parter technically. Even though it's not in the title, it is technically. It's one of those. Okay. But just what a way to leave off on a cliffhanger, but of course, not long after watching that, immediately we get into the next episode. But overall, the seventh / second to last episode of season 3 of What If the Watcher disappeared. That was really good, the conversations that goes on with the characters, their attempts to use the 3 shards, they're down to 1 more, Infinity Ultron making a return, what's going on with the Watchers by this point, and just seeing these group of characters coming together, and with the additions of, say, Birdie, older Birdie, I should say, and Storm, all being led by Captain Carter herself. That was amazing. That was really good. Not to mention, because some of the other things that were going on that episode, because, that game with balls, because you move those sticks around. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't know why I can't place the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about. Because we could see those figures. They're variants of the Marvel characters, including some more of the X-Men characters, including Wolverine. That's a nice little touch there. But yeah, so overall, and to round things up with episode 7, yeah. What if the Watcher disappeared? It was another good episode, and yeah, again, this being the second to last episode of Season 3 of What If. Alright, guys, well, here we go. The 8th and final episode of Season 3 of What If. What If altogether. And how appropriate, what the title of the final episode of What If, how it's titled, yeah. What if? What if? Okay, description / the story. Pursued across realities, Captain Carter and her team aid the Watcher in invading Capture. They seek refuge in the multiverse's hidden corners in a fight for survival as other Watchers close in, just 3 of them, intend on their total annihilation. Okay, so where the 8th and final episode of What If starts? Well, we get a bit of a backstory / origin on account of the Watcher himself, whom is at first a Watcher disciple, and the Eminence, choosing / handpicking him to be another Watcher. And, because, the Watcher taking the oath, of course, and swearing to follow the rules and everything because of what it takes to be a Watcher and such, not to intervene or anything like that. And thus, whom was once a Watcher disciple becomes a new Watcher, yes. And we would learn his name. I'll go ahead and say it. Uatu, yeah. So just thought I'd go ahead and mention it just in case, but yeah. Anyways, and of course, Jeffrey Wright, voicing that Watcher. But then many eons later, because, well, by this point and when the Eminence, hoped that Uatu, who became the Watcher, would not disappoint him, well, he did. Standing trial, and because of the many interference that he did, because having Doctor Strange create a new universe because of what happened to his destroyed universe, saving Riri Williams, helping, John Fang, in the 3rd to last episode, Cowboys and stuff, that one. And, and just a couple of other characters that he helped out, and most prominently, having Captain Carter, help out and all that, just, having Captain Carter do some things, but luckily, just in time, Infinity Ultron steps in to, try to take down the 3 Watchers. Not to mention that Captain Carter, she is present in the 5th dimension where she too stands trial. But again, by this point, Infinity Ultron stepping in, helping them, keeping them distracted and holding them off while, the Watcher and Captain Carter, they make their escape on the ship. And thus, Captain Carter reuniting with her friends, and again, because Captain Carter would not risk losing her friends. And unfortunately, with Infinity Ultron giving it all his power, his might, well, in the end, he loses to the Watchers, because even someone like Infinity Ultron is no match for the Watchers, and knowing what the Watchers are like. But of course, there can be alternatives, possibilities and such. Hope is never lost. And as I recall in the final episode of Star Trek Picard, if you know, you know. Anyways, because it's true. All right, so the chase is on. They try to escape and make their destination to another dimension, all that. But, of course, and to still speed things up some, the Watchers get to them. They cause them to crash, destroying their ship. And they're going to take them down once and for all, And even when, say, at one point, they would try to destroy every variance of them from different multiverses. But the rest of the episode, not the entirety of it, but a good length of action-packed fighting stuff going on, between Captain Carter, Kahori, Birdie, Storm, and the Watcher against the three Watchers. So, it's them going at each other. Even say when at one point the Watcher, he grants, Carter, Kahori, Storm, and Birdie, all four of them. He grants all four of them the powers and capabilities to be a Watcher, taking the oath and just, accepting. Just to speed it up for them, never mind, just say I accept it, just all that, because they're running out of time. So thus that's what they do. So now they have the powers and capabilities, just like the Watcher himself, Uoki, to be Watchers themselves. And of course, the three Watchers, they're pissed by this, but the battle continues on now that they're really powerful and with the capabilities of the powers of the Watchers. The fighting that goes on between all of them, and with the animation to it, it's amazing. Like, imagine if this was live action. That would have been amazing, but still, with this being animation, it's still great, right? But anyways. So, and then, of course, like I said, it would lead to where the Watchers attempt to destroy every variant of, say, Carter, Kahori, Storm, and Birdie. But luckily, Captain Carter, who does not want the risk to losing her friends, and even though they seemed, they're willing to, for the ultimate sacrifice, no, Carter's not having any of it. So she's the one that steps up front and sacrifices herself. Taking on the Watcher. By this point, all three Watchers, they've emerged. It's just the Eminence that's just there. And she basically makes the ultimate sacrifice, finding a way to take down the Eminence, who has become one Watcher, saving her friends, and that also goes for the Watcher himself. Jeffrey Wright. And basically sending them to Doctor Strange's very own universe to save them and all that. So them arriving in Strange Supreme's very own universe, and whom is the conscience and such of his own universe. Well, thanks to Strange watching over, and we can see, star, constellation of his face and all that, he took away the powers of the three Watchers. The Eminence, who became just one, where the other two, they combined with him, their powers are stripped away, and the Watcher, he convinces the Watcher trio to learn, and on account of this new universe, and learning about life and all that. And, managing to, getting the Watchers, whom were starting to become evil and such, managing to redeem them. Good on him. And then Kahori, Storm, and Birdie, and the Watcher, they mourn and have a little funeral for Captain Carter. But, even after that, the Watcher convinces them, and no doubt that Carter would want this too, and since they all became Watchers themselves, he convinces them to join him into becoming the new Watchers and watching over the multiverse. And we get the closing narration from the Watcher, just as it is, in the intro of the show, space, time, reality, and, and learn, what if, that dialogue, that speech that the Watcher has. And that being the end to the show altogether. And the end credits in that same style as it was in Endgame. But, what a great way for how the 8th and last episode of What If altogether, how it ends, just really good. Even in my opinion, and I'm sure the same goes for you. But just, the 8th and final episode of Season 3 of What If, and the last episode altogether of Marvel's What If. What if? It was great. It was a great season finale, the end to the show altogether, with what goes down in the climax. Not all of the characters, but a few of them. Certain key characters, most prominently Carter, stepping in, interacting with the Watcher some more, and taking on those three other Watchers, and a new beginning for the 5th dimension and for the Watchers themselves. Indeed. And like I said earlier, how fitting is it that Captain Carter, the first character whom would be the center of the very first episode of the show itself, What If, for her to make the ultimate sacrifice, just excellent. That was great. Yeah, just, with the storyline, the animation, the music, with the characters in the final episode, just excellent, just really good. What more do I have to say, really? Yeah, so that's that. Yeah. The last 2 episodes of Season 3 of What If. What a ride this has been. The show itself altogether, with what this piece of MCU material had to offer in the realm of animation, this is what I'm sure for a lot of us, we were all hoping to see one day. And because now we had gotten it. And for this being a part of the MCU, and with the majority of cast members they brought back, not all of them, but for those that came back to reprise their characters, and those that stepped in for some of those other characters, they did an excellent job. The show's animation style, beautiful, really well done. Each of the storylines, what goes on with the characters, and just, random characters coming together, no matter what. I love that kind of stuff by this point. Yeah, and I'm sure we do too. We all do. Yeah. And just, getting to see a lot more of the Watchers. The variants of these characters, most prominently Captain Carter, and new faces that would step in, like, say, Gahori and Birdie, and, the list goes on. Just, and to see Infinity Ultron, the Marvel Zombie thing, and all this other stuff that, obviously, because they come from the comics, and just, and getting glimpses of other different multiverses that, we didn't get to see in an episode, but still, we know and we're told by the show that they exist, because Frog Thor exists, of course. There's a variant of Ultron that I meant to mention, where he's a singer and such. Just, no matter what multiverse it is, just, But just overall, what a ride / journey this has been. Marvel's What If was another excellent piece of MCU material in the realm of animation. Just, at least in my opinion, but I'm sure you all would think so too. What a joy it's been. And again, because with the last 2 episodes of Season 3, the 3rd and final season of What If, they did not disappoint. What a way to go out. And I'm giving Season 3 of What If, well, why not? 10 out of 10 stars. Yes, 10 out of 10 stars for the 3rd and final season of Marvel Television's What If. And what about you guys? What did you think of the last 2 episodes of Season 3 of Marvel's What If? The last 2 episodes altogether of What If itself. Were you satisfied with how it ended? And with a couple of new faces that step in? Seeing an older Birdie. Storm, who now wields the same powers as Thor, a goddess herself, with what goes down in the last 2 episodes on account of the Watchers, Infinity Ultron, Captain Carter, those that come together, the climax that happens in the last episode. It has a happy ending to it, everything to it, just like, just overall, what did you think of the last 2 episodes themselves? And and with the show altogether, which have been your favorite seasons, your favorite episodes, your favorite storylines? Just again, what did you think of the last 2 episodes of Season 3 and the show itself altogether? With what all I've had to say, my 3rd and final part review, and what did you think of my 3rd and final part review of the 3rd / final season of What If? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, guys, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my 3rd and final part review of the 3rd and final season of Marvel's What If. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I will see you guys in the next video / review. And, well, of course, continuing on with, reviewing the Marvel shows on Disney Plus, and what's next after, what came after the third and final season of What If, and if you guys know. Well, let's just say Matt Murdock himself had officially returned properly into the MCU. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's next. And after the third and final season of What If came out, just overall, stay tuned for that. Oh boy. Take care, peace out, and Avengers, assemble.